Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dbacks Dispatch. Here talking about another series win, even a sweep against one of the top teams in Major League Baseball. So things are looking really good for the Diamondbacks right now. So this is your first time checking us out on YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. We do series recaps for the Diamondbacks. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at Dbacks Dispatch and check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search Dbacks Dispatch. You'll be able to find us. Fellas, I feel absolutely fantastic right now. I don't think this team has been playing this good since last year's postseason. I think this is the best that they've looked consistently since last year's postseason. And it's mainly due to we're finally getting healthy, sort of. Like, some guys come back and then we lose some. But, they're doing a really, I know a lot of people don't like to admit it, but Torey's doing a really good job managing right now for the most part. He does occasionally have some stinkers. You're like, Torey, what are we doing here? But for the most part, he's doing really well. And Mike Hazen, this trade deadline, has hit it out of the ballpark. Pun intended. He's done such a great job. I am truly amazed at what he's done so far. And so we'll get into that. But game one against the Guardians was a 7-6 win. We start the game. Marte and Gabby go back-to-back. And Marte does it on the first pitch of the game. First pitch, it's versus a lefty, so, were we really expecting anything else from Cattell to ambush that first pitch? I believe it's now 15 home runs against left-handed pitching, which is, I think 4 or 5 more than anybody else in Major League Baseball. His slugging versus left-handed pitching is simply amazing. Corbin Barrel. Corbin, it may have taken you a while, but you may have gotten here. Gabby then, next batter, takes a couple of pitches. He also goes yard. So this team in the first inning, I don't know what it is, but it really excites me. Cattell by himself, 9 home runs in the first inning all season. It's amazing. First inning stats in turn, they're second in runs, first in hits, tied for second with home runs. They have 6 sacrifice flies in the first inning as well. It's amazing. Their average first, on base second, slugging second, OPS second. Marte has an OPS in the first inning of a 1.141. What the hell? He's clicking on all cylinders right now. And we said it last podcast, and we're going to keep saying it because we may need to do it. Cattell Marte needs to be in serious talks, serious conversations for NL MVP. Because what he's doing offensively, he's keeping really pace with Shohei, and he's playing Gold Glove caliber defense. It's really amazing. Now, Gabe, do we think this dominance by the team in the first inning, is it a game plan thing? They feel like they can ambush these guys early? Or do we think it's more them just being really aggressive early on?
It's probably a little bit of both, just because what we saw earlier in the season when they were the early backs, that they would just come out super aggressive and swing at everything. But it seems like they had a game plan against most of these guys where, there's a lot of pitchers that are guys who are very much strike throwers. Like in this case with Marte, first pitch, straight down the middle, 91 mile per hour fastball. They have the scouting reports for these guys. They know, okay, so in this count, they throw this and that, blah, blah, blah. So it's probably just good game planning, especially at the beginning of the game where they want to ambush them. And I know at some point during the season, or at least during this run, pitchers are going to stop being as aggressive and might start to nibble a little bit in those first couple of innings. So forcing the D-backs to switch their game plan up. But as right now, it's working for them. Although, I mean, we can get into it a little later, but I'm not too happy about. I mean, I'm happy they're hitting home runs, but I'm not happy about how reliant they were on the home runs for this series. But as of right now, it's good that they're able to get out ahead, give give their starting pitcher a lead, like that's sometimes all you need. You need, for these guys to settle down. Like not all of them are going to be able to go 6, 7 innings. So giving them a chance to settle down and be, consistent where they don't have to nibble as much around, so they can feel a little more confident in themselves and what they're doing. So then they can come out and throw strikes as well. So I I think it's like I said. I think it's a little bit of both. It is what they're doing for now. Um, but as like I said, we'll see later on when they face off against different type of pitchers. Like we might see them start to nibble the corners a little bit more.
Yeah, and like they dominate in the first inning, but a lot of the times they'll then go completely silent for 3 or 4 straight innings, and that can be a little frustrating as a fan. Yeah, Shug, thanks for stopping by. No, it is not going to be Go Dodgers. So you better watch out. We are coming. We are coming for that title. We are coming for that division title. So you better watch out, Shug. I do appreciate you for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I feel like they do these spurts, like these hot and cold streaks, where they'll be like doing so well first inning, second inning, and then they go cold, and then they turn it on. And we've gone over the numbers of what they do in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Like, if games were just the first inning, 7th, 8th, and 9th, like, this team would be, like, I mean, they currently really are the best team in baseball right now. But, like, they would just be so, like, we wouldn't have to worry about, are they going to lose to a team like Oakland or the Chicago White Sox? Like, that's, like, they've had losses like that so far this year. You're like, you shouldn't lose to that team. But Brett, with this dominance in the first inning, does it worry you as well when they go on those streaks where they scored 2 or 3 or 4 in the first, and then like no hits at all to like the 6th?
I mean, it's definitely a worry whenever you have a team that just goes that long without getting a hit, especially if you can put up like 2 or 3, even 4 in the first inning and rattle the starting pitcher. Usually you want to like keep applying the pressure, get into their bullpen a little bit earlier than or as soon as you can. So kind of letting him settle down and even get into like 5 or 6 after you jump on him early, it's never really like the best sign. But I mean, sometimes that is the beautiful thing about baseball is, the pitchers might learn right away after the first inning. Like once you get back to the dugout, kind of like we've probably seen it from Strom at times, where it's like, hey, you know what? This is the part of your location or your delivery that needs a little bit of tweaking. Maybe you're releasing it a little bit earlier, whatever it is, they can fix it. And then they kind of like, that's how they settle down from there. Also, I think that Grichuk legitimately just like knocked the prime Randy Johnson into him when he domed him off the head, which thank God he's okay, because that was scary. But it is a little worrisome. But I think that the game plan that they have, like I think they're definitely aggressive, but I think that's just part of their actual game plan going into it. Because yes, they do rely on home runs. Yes, they do hit. It seems like a lot of home runs in the first inning, but it seems like they also get a decent amount of walks. Like they're working there, like they're having good at bats. I know not all the time, like we've seen it before, where Corbin and Cattell will swing at the first like 2 pitches and like, oh cool, the starting pitcher just had an 8-pitch first. What are we doing here? But it seems like more often than not, whether a run scores, we'll see 15 to 20 pitches, at least in the first, kind of get to see a little bit of something from the pitcher. So I know it doesn't always work out, but I think their game plan in the first in general has been something. I just wanted to see if they can replicate it. I don't know if it's they're too stuck in their ways for the first few innings where they don't want to make adjustments where, oh, hey, if that pitcher goes and faces, Cattell and Corbin for the first time or for the second time in the second or third inning, and he gets them looking foolish and they don't want to make any changes, then that's kind of on the D-backs. But I don't know. I think what they're kind of doing in the first inning, obviously, and you guys would probably agree, just don't change anything. Just figure out a way to, from innings 2 to 6, just figure out how to put up a little bit more offense than you have been lately.
Yeah. And we're going to have to talk about this again. Jock Peterson being clutch is just insane. And he knew it right away. Like, this was a huge at bat. Down 4-5 in the eighth. He's pinch hitting, and he hits another clutch home run. Like, it's truly amazing. Now, we are talking about something positive. Unfortunately, we have to talk about the other big news in this game. Gabby Moreno hits a ground ball just in the second inning, and he looks to leg it out. And you can see halfway as he's running, it doesn't look natural. You're like, what's going on here? And unfortunately, it is a groin strain, which I was seeing different reports 4 to 6 weeks. I'm hoping that's not the case. But Gabby, we have thousands upon people that would happily give them your groin. That way you can come back. So it is very scary. The team has been playing
No
really
pause
well.
needed at all either. No pause needed.
Nope. Since he came back, 317, 400, 427. They did call up Adrian Del Castillo. It has been stated quite a bit how this team played when Gabby was out last year. Gabe, do we think that they can hold down the fort until he's back, or are we going to see something similar of last year?
I think these two games were a good indication of what we're going to see out of them, just because the last time he went down, even last year too, the losing streak started almost immediately. It wasn't like a gradual thing where eventually they're like, all right, they ran out of gas. Like they just fell apart instantly without him. But I think I trust Jose Herrera a little bit more than most, but just having Adrian Castillo there to hold down the fort. I mean, he got a very hard hit double today. I think it would have been a home run in 10 out of 30 ballparks or something like that. Like he made some really, really good contact. So he's looking very good. I really like the way he batted today. So I don't know. I know we're gonna miss him. We are gonna miss Gabby. I just think it's one of those things where I would hope he's not out for if you're talking about a month and a half. That's you're talking about being in September by the time he comes back. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. It is something unfortunate that does happen to catchers, just because most of them wear cups, and a lot of the guys who wear cups, that's just a very common injury. It just kind of slips out of the way, and it just injures your groin. I've had a groin injury before. I was playing like catch with my brother. I went to go shag a fly ball, and it just like instantly I felt something pull down there, and I was like, "Oh, this is not good at all here. Like something's wrong with me." And it took me like 2 months to recover, but I didn't have trainers who can massage that area or something like that. But it's frustrating, especially with it seems like we get one guy back and another guy falls. So hopefully we get Gabby back sooner than later. As far as I know, we haven't gotten word, right, Brett, about like what the imaging was.
I think they said it was just strained left groin. I don't know exactly. Yes, I don't know exactly what the full on damage was. Like
Yeah,
whether they said it was like a level 1, 2, or 3. I don't think they
yeah,
gave us the full details.
yeah. It wasn't a. They didn't give a grade that it was a level 1 or 2 or even a timetable yet. But Lovella did say it's probably going to take a couple days to get the actual timetable for it. So we have to just wait and see if it's a 10, 15 day. I think they moved to 10-day IL. It's probably going to be changed after a little bit. So hopefully, as AZ Bubble says, that Olympic trainer, I think we tweeted that clip out. Like, get that lady here ASAP. We need her. We need her to fix Gabby for us. But yeah, it's just we're gonna miss his offense and his defense. But I think having a little bit of a, the what do you call it?
We got to wait until we're actually out of Cleveland first, because we know who the Browns quarterback is. We don't want any massage issues again. So we got to make sure we're back in Arizona before we get her on the payroll first. But
yeah, thankfully we're not going to Boston with Robert Kraft or anything, or we'd have the same issue. But yeah, I know we're gonna miss Gabby. But like I said, I think Adrian. We talked about him earlier in the season that we wanted to see him called up. So now he's getting his chance to show everybody what he's got.
Yes, we'll wait for Brandon to get back here and obviously get his thoughts and everything. But I think it's definitely going to be a little bit better than we were dealing with last year. I know last year we had some of the same issues. Like obviously Carson Kelly was our backup catcher last year along with Jose Herrera, so it's a much different situation than it is now. And even I'll admit, Jose Herrera has been playing really well. He's been having some really solid at bats, even in I believe that Monday night game. I could be wrong. And then in I think the game one of the doubleheader, he's had some really solid at bats. Yeah, it was a game one of the doubleheader. He had like a 9-10 pitch at bat that led to a walk that I believe Corbin then drove him in on a home run. Little spoilers, we'll get to that. But I think if he can at least be serviceable, and then if Del Castillo can just do something even close to what he was doing in Reno, even like what we saw today, 1 for 3 with a double walk and an RBI, I'll take that from a catcher. And especially it didn't seem like there were any defensive issues. Obviously, yeah, it's a very small sample size. It was 1 game, 9 innings. I don't think the Guardians are too known for being a super like stealing team and all that. But if they can just be serviceable, I'm okay and comfortable with what we have, at least for the time being. Especially because, and again, I think we never know because we talked about it in a couple podcasts a little bit ago. The Gabby being in the 2-hole and like how crucial it is, like him and how good he is facing off against lefties. Yes, it'll suck to kind of miss that for a little bit, but I think one of the benefits, at least with like Josh Bell hitting the way he's hitting, is if he can continue that, maybe he can kind of slide in as that lefty killer until Walker gets back. Grichuk has been swinging the bat a little bit better. He's still the lefty guy. So I'm not too worried about the catcher situation. Obviously, it sucks to lose Gabby. He's our Gold Glove, catcher of the future. But if we're going to compare it to, missing out on Gabby this year versus like missing out on Gabby last year, like I said earlier with Carson Kelly and Jose Herrera, 2024 Jose Herrera is much better than 2023. And if Del Castillo can just be, like I was talking about with Gabe before you got back, Brandon, if he can just be somewhat decent, I think we'll be fine and be able to hold the fort down until he can get back. Let him make sure his groin injury is fully healed, there's no lingering issues, so he doesn't like aggravate it in his first game back.
Yeah, like I think right now we're playing really well, and like you said, this season's Jose Herrera, it's not an automatic out every time. Like it was, like I felt like last season, like you knew him coming up. Oh, there's 3 outs we're going to have to sacrifice. I don't think it's like that this season. Like I think he's not batting like he's batting like 220 right now, like on the season. But I just feel like his at bats are just more consistently positive at bats. Like it's not just a easy ground out, easy fly out. Like he makes these guys work. For me, where we're at right now, if we can stay about 500 with him out, or at least keep pace with the Dodgers and Padres until he's back. So if they start winning more, or they start losing more, or they're at 500, just keep pace. Because right now, where we're at, it's a very easily can be made up in a month. I mean, we've literally made it up in like 2 weeks, because we're at 3.5 right now. We were at 7.5 against the Oakland A's a while back.
They're that division. When we play the Oakland A's, they're 10.5 behind the Dodgers.
Gabe's clips at 10.5.
Okay, 10.5. Okay. But again, like the way, like this is the closest we've been to the Dodgers this late in the season in a while. Because most of the time, like we're close in like June, and then the Dodgers have their crazy like 20-5 June months, and next thing you know, they're up by 10 plus. It's kind of the opposite this year. Like they were up by a bunch in June, and they've kind of come back down to earth here in July and August. And Dbacks have taken advantage. They are just on an absolute tear. So for me, just kind of stay where you're at. Don't fall behind don't fall behind anyone, because the way the Padres are playing right now, They have just as good of a shot.
Did you guys see that game tonight?
I was partially watching it.
Jackson Merrill game-tying home run with 1 out in the 9th. Dude, the Pirates closers and the Pirates fans have had a rough 6 days. But game-tying home run with 1 out. They put up 3 in the 9th. Pirates almost come back to tie it, and they barely win. So the Padres, that last series of the season, oh boy.
There's going to be so much on the line. There really is. Just one final thing I want to go over from this game. Zach Gallen had a decent start. He gave us innings, which I think was very much needed after the Pirates series. He gave us 7 innings on 93 pitches. 5 hits on 5 runs, though, that's what had me worried, but he gave us the length that I think was very much needed in this game. Tuesday's game.
I want to give a quick comment. Yeah, sorry. I want to give a quick comment about Gallen. I felt like he kind of got screwed by the defense a little bit. There's a play that Kevin Newman kind of bobbled that would have gotten him out of the inning. But I think personally, we're talking, the broadcasting mentioned that this, being a potential World Series matchup, Alec needs to be out there in center field every day. As great as Jake is, he doesn't take the same routes. There's a lot of line drives, toward that center, to was left center and even to, right down that little gap that they just did not get to. They allowed too many doubles and triples because the ball just kept falling into those gaps. And I'm saying it just because we've seen it time and time again in the last 3 years that Alec has been up. Any ball anywhere near that area he gets to. Jake almost got to it, but we know, with the route that Alec takes and the speed and everything, there's a few of those plays that he would have caught easily. And I don't think, if Alec would have been out there in center field, I don't think the Gallen's start would have been as bad as, 5 runs. I think it could have easily been 2 or 3 runs. I know he did allow hard hits and everything, but I think when you have a stadium as big as Cleveland or let's say San Francisco, I know, there's certain, media guys who say that Jake needs to take all those at bats and, Alec shouldn't even be up or whatever. But Alec is there for his defense right now, and he has the second hardest hit rate with the D-backs, right behind Marte. He makes really good contacts. He's just been incredibly unlucky. And he's had
this year and last year.
He's had less than 100 at bats, I think, still too. He's still catching up. And I think they mentioned on the broadcast today, this is a guy who is getting his first real reps this late into the season. All these pitchers have made their adjustments, and Alec has had no real time to adjust at any point to the pitching, of this league so far. So I'm sure once we get to September, a lot of those balls are going to start finding their gaps, and he's going to start hitting more home runs and more doubles and more triples. But like I said, right now, when we play in a big stadium, I think Alec should be out there instead of Jake. We can platoon Jake and Carroll, but Alec needs to be out there.
Yeah, and I think a main reason a lot of media people want Jake is because he's hitting so well right now. Yeah. Alec is not. But like Gabe said, defensively, if Alec is out there in the bottom of the 9th, that play to left center where Bo Naylor gets the triple, that's a double with Alec. Because he will either play the ball correctly off the wall or he'll be more vocal because it looks like when it bounced off the wall, Jake thought Lourdes was going to get it. Lourdes thought Jake was going to get it. And the ball was just sitting there for a good couple seconds. And that was enough for Bo Naylor to go from second to third, which ended up being the tying run. It could have cost us the game.
I would have been so upset. All of us would have been, man. Oh my God.
But luckily it didn't. So we did end up winning game 1. Game 2. As we didn't have a game on Tuesday, got rained out. We had a double header today, which was really great because they won both games. But game 2, this may take me a while to go over, but I think these numbers really are going to make sense with the question I'm going to ask the both of you. So Perdomo went out very early in the season, April 4th. He was literally out 2 whole months till June 10th. In that time, 59 games, we were 26-33. 26-33. Now, there's other stats I could read off, but I think we're going to put a tweet out about these numbers because it's really eye-popping as to how different this offense is. But in those 59 games, OPS was 693. Not really that great. Domo came back June 11th. Our record since then, 32-17. That's 15 games over 500. And our OPS in that time, 822. That's a massive leap.
It's slightly a little bit different because, again, this was all on Fangraphs right before it updated, and it didn't give me all the info. So this is missing 2 games, but still.
The 2 games is not going to make that much of a difference in those numbers.
Still,
like,
but it does include the win and the wins in the record. So if you take out the 2 and the stats the same, it's technically 30-17 with these. But at least wanted that disclaimer out there so nobody's confused if they go and look up those stats tomorrow and they're like, "No, the hell."
Yeah. And just like it seems like all of these stats across the board are just different with him in the lineup. Now, Gabe, we all know Marte is a NL MVP frontrunner. Is he even the most valuable player on his team right now?
Who's we? Because apparently, the media is promoting Ella De La Cruz and Francisco Lindor as frontrunners right behind Shohei. So apparently, we're not. It's not everybody that believes that Marte is the MVP. But like I said, Marte is amazing. He's been amazing all year. But we can't rely on one guy. Like, this isn't the NBA. Like, we can't just throw out LeBron, expecting to win something. Like, it's just one of those things where baseball it truly is a team sport. Like, if Marte, he hits the home run today, but Perdomo, what happens if Perdomo doesn't hit the home run? What if some of the other guys don't hit their home runs? Like, this is a team sport. Marte carried them as much as he could, but with all the injuries to the pitching staff and the issues with the relievers and everything, like, it really, really affected his team. And the thing is, there's a few plays that Perdomo has already saved. Like, he's so long and he has such a good jump on the balls too that his defense completely changed his team as well. So we love Perdomo, and it's not. I wouldn't credit just Perdomo because since Alec came back, it's been the same thing. We haven't lost a series since Alec came back because he came with the Dodger series, and since then we won 10 straight series, or is this the 11th?
Well, you got to think we tied against the Braves, which was that series after the Dodgers.
Or then undefeated in.
Yeah, we are undefeated in series since Alec came back, correct?
Yeah, so I think we can credit a lot to Perdomo and Alec, I think, just because they offer a certain amount of length in this lineup that we didn't have before, because a lot of it, I wouldn't say it was, dead weight, because Newman is not dead weight or anything, and as good as Blaze was, during a certain part of the series, he's not Perdomo. He doesn't take the same at-bats as Perdomo. Perdomo will take 8-9 pitches seemingly almost every at-bat. He starts rallies, which is something that we didn't have before, which was they'd get 2 outs and then they would kind of just shut down, ground out, then that would be it. But Perdomo starts the rallies, he turns the lineup over, so where it's Corbin, it's Marte, it's like we start these rallies because of him and because of Alex. So I think just having him in the lineup completely changes this team. And this is the lineup that was originally constructed by Mike Hazen when he went out and made the moves to get Jock, to get Grichuk, to get Newman. This is the team that he originally envisioned, and we're finally seeing it. And once we've gotten most of these guys back, I know we're missing Gabby now, but as soon as we've gotten these guys back and certain guys like Corbin, Suarez, even Moreno to a certain extent, Lourdes, as soon as these guys start to produce as well, it did change everything, and we're seeing the results now.
Yeah, like I think a lot of the people that don't understand about Domo, he's a top of the order batter in the bottom half. Like, he stabilizes 7, 8, and 9 because a lot of late game rallies start with him. Whether it's a long at bat that results in an out, whether it's a walk, it's a single. Like so many times we see that when they start to answer back there late, it's because Domo started something. Like he just does things that will not show up in the box score. It will not show up in his stats. You have to physically watch him take these at bats, and it's just whatever happened between the offseason of 22 and 23. Whatever he did, he made leaps and bounds. 2022, Geraldo Perdomo had like one of the lowest OPS of any like guy with over 500 at bats.
I love him, but he was terrible.
Yeah, like
And like that's putting it in the most respectful way possible.
And I'm wondering if those at bats just allowed him to get so much experience, and then he knew what he needed to work on that off season. And yeah, like first half of last season, he was really good. Like he's just so underappreciated. Like we have our shortstop of the future, and Perdomo decided to work out, and he finally hit a home run today. I was so excited. I was like, yay! It didn't die on the warning track. So, Brett, floor's yours, because you're the ones that really found these stats, because you're really good at finding them. I was like, can you do like I gave you like 6-hour notice because I'm like, this is something I really wanted to go over because it's truly like amazing what this team has looked like since him and Alec came back.
Yes, I do think. I mean, honestly, it's a fantastic question, especially when you like watch this team and you kind of look at it. He's a big factor to it. Whether it's like Gabe was saying, working the at bats. It seems like almost every time he's up there, he's putting up at least 5+ pitch at bat, and like it doesn't sound crazy, but that's a good amount of pitches to see every time, and that's usually on the light side. He's probably not going to go up there swinging until he gets 2 strikes at the time. But I think not only him, but a lot of the other team, like Eugenio Suarez, is finally starting to hit like the guy that we expected him to. Corbin's turning it around a little bit. I mean, even like Jake McCarthy's having his days. Bell's, being a big contributor. Jock Peterson, we've talked about the praises for him. It's just been the entire team contributing. So I still want to say that yes, Ketel is the MVP on this team, especially because we have to push the agenda and the narrative. It's got to happen. We're the main agenda pushers, and we're going to keep pushing the agenda because it's not even an agenda now. It's just facts. He deserves to be in the MVP conversation. But it is a great point to bring up, at least how much the rest of the team is providing, kind of just around him. Maybe not just being the only ones, like, Perdomo and all of them aren't always on base. Ketel's not always hitting like 2-3, run home runs all the time. But they're at least, keeping the train moving, giving him some more at bats. Like even in that second game today, there was Corbin's 2-out walk. It was very close to Ketel not even getting another chance. And Corbin's, 2-out walk, just, move the train, move the station, keep it going. So I think it's just more of a team collective effort. But I do think that a big part of why it's a team collective effort is because, while you had me dig up and get these stats, is just the fact that Perdomo's back. I mean, they're striking out at least like almost 3% less. Their team WRC plus in the time that Domo was gone from April 4th to June 10th was 95. Ever since he's been back, it's 127. Their batting average on balls in play is up by at least like 14 points. Their ground ball percentage has gone down a little bit, while their fly ball percentage has gone up. They're hitting the ball 3% harder, like at least on the hard contact. Medium has gone up. They're just all around improvements on all of their numbers, which is just really good to see. And again, whether it's on Domo, the coaching staff, I think, or whether it's not on Domo and it's on the coaching staff and the whole team in general, I think, like you talked about before, and even Alec deserves a little bit of this too, because as I mentioned before, when you look at his Baseball Savant page, I believe Jesse brought this up on the PHNX show because I was listening to that. His numbers, he's really unlucky. He is almost in the top, like, I mean, again, he doesn't qualify yet, so it's not giving the actual number, but his squared up percentage is really high up in the league. He's, expected batting average, expected slug, average exit velocity. I know the launch angle is still a big issue. Like we we always see him kind of like chopping it down, but he's got some underlying metrics that still show that, you know, he's going to turn the corner soon. And I think that, along with what we've seen from Domo, is a big reason why this team's numbers have just turned around as a whole.
Also,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up about Perdomo. What we saw today when he's the one who's calling timeouts, you know, when the pitcher he sees that the pitcher's getting a little unruly or uneasy out there, he's been calling the timeouts. He's apparently, you know, with everything they've said, he's been doing that since 2022. Since he got brought up, he's been doing that where he'll see that the pitcher's getting a little uneasy, he'll call a timeout and then go talk to him. Whatever he says, you know, it seems to work out really well. And I don't exactly know what it is that he says, but it's something. I mean, we've seen him in the interviews. He's a really funny guy to interview. So maybe he just goes out there, motivates them, but also says certain jokes and, you know, gets them to steady themselves a little bit. And also, we've been talking about, you know, how bad he was in 2022. He was barely 22 years old in 2022, and he shouldn't have been up there, you know, in the major leagues anyways. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was there because Nick Ahmed got hurt. So they brought him up because they had no other options. So I think just having that extra experience, that extra year of experience in the major leagues, you know, he was able to adjust and he became an all-star the next year. Like Perdomo is only going to get better. He's only 24 years old. Like he hasn't reached those peak years yet. So I'm sure as the years go on and, you know, we look at him at age 25, 26, I think he's going to age really well just because of the body type he has and the eye for the strike zone that he has. So I can see him having, you know, a 275 and 800 OPS season, you know, even as close as next year.
Yeah, and one thing that Steve Berthium has brought up on the broadcast numerous times, when he was first brought up, Torrey at that point began, I don't know if it's molding, mentoring, but he wanted him to be a leader on this team because he knew Nick Ahmed was on his way down. And I think for Torrey, the shortstop needs to be the leader on the field. And so he had instilled that at that point, and I think that's what we see a lot with him, especially with Jamar lately. When Jamar is struggling late in the games, you see Domo walk up to him. I don't know what he says. I don't know if it's just something that's calm down. You got great stuff, but sometimes you're a little too excited. Whenever he has that visit, Martinez bears down and gets the job done. Maybe they can have that conversation when he's warming up out there and not after he faces a couple of batters like that. But yeah, like again, stuff like that is not going to show up in the box score. You have to watch the game to see that during the mound visit, it's Domo that goes up there and talks to him. So just a couple of other things. Adrian Del Castillo gets a double, RBI double in his first at bat. That's a home run at Chase Field, by the way. That is a home run at Chase Field. The only reason it's not a homer is because of the high wall. So congratulations. ADC season is here, everyone.
I think this is game 3. That was game 3, by the way.
It was. Oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. So I was just so excited.
That's why I was like, I don't think we went over Mr. Ninth Inning yet.
No, we haven't. But speaking of that, Ketel Marte, 9th inning. What in the actual hell? Like this man just turns into something else. Now these numbers do not include today's 2 games. His OPS in the 9th inning, 1.468. He has 8 home runs in the 9th inning. So we talked about what he does in the 1st inning. There's 8 in the 9th inning. 17 of his 29 home runs first in the 9th inning. Like, that's just crazy to me. Like, he's ready to go when the game starts, and he has ice in his veins. He's cool as one can be late in the game when it matters most. Now, we have talked about numerous times our current closer situation. It's tough. Sewald lost the job. Thompson has had 2 blown saves since he really got into that role. And J Mart, it's like his first one against the Cubs didn't go well. And the two recently, he's gotten the job done. It has not been pretty. Is Marte the team's actual closer, though? The way he's been hitting these go-ahead home runs in the ninth inning to give us a little bit of room. He did it against the Pirates on Sunday. He did it today in the first game, making it from 5-3 to 7-3. Like, is Marte our actual closer, Gabe?
Yeah, I think so. He's been putting these games way out of reach for these teams. Like, and it's not like they're solo home runs either. He's hitting with men on base. Like, I don't know what it is that he's been doing just to like completely change, how he, takes these at bats in the ninth. The only thing, I can really think of is just they, there's a lot of managers in this league and even people in the media who say that, there's no such thing as being clutch. There's not a way to measure clutch, so it doesn't exist, right? But I think it does exist. We've seen time and time again in different sports and baseball too. Like, you're telling me David Ortiz isn't clutch? Like, there's certain guys in this league that when you have a situation like this, especially, in the playoffs, Marte, where they get to a point, late into the game, whether it's the eighth or the ninth, where, like you said, cool as a cucumber. They just like low heart rates and everything. Like, I would be very, very curious to see Marte's heart rate during the ninth inning, because your resting heart rates around 65, 75. I bet you that's where Marte is.
Yeah,
Most of these
is.
guys are probably 100 or 120. Like, their minds are racing, their hearts are racing, and Marte just seems like how he said, when he got those hits, like, I know who I am. Like, he knows who he is. He understands that he can put these teams away easily with just one swing of the bat. So it's been crazy to see him do that. Like, he has been their closer, like in these, especially lately, when we've been struggling to find our actual closer. He's been helping a lot to take that pressure off of the bullpen, and he should be an MVP frontrunner. He just, for whatever reason, the media just doesn't want to pay attention to him. The liberal media over there at the Washington Compost doesn't want to give him the
It's
credit
because
that
he's
he
not
deserves.
flashy. He's not flashy.
He's flashy, but in his own like funny way, where he'll just do the little shimmy and stuff like that, or just stare down stuff. But he's not flashy in the way Ellie de la Cruz is flashy or anything like that. It's crazy that two guys batting 250 and 270 have preference over a guy who's batting 300 and is just a few home runs behind Shohei. And I think they're probably around the same amount of RBI as well. Like, it's ridiculous that he's not either tied for first or just option B, slightly A B behind Shohei, and he's just I don't know what it is. It's like that gamer meme where the guy's sitting behind, then he stands up when it gets intense. Like, he turns on to a different level when he reaches the ninth inning or even late to the innings. Like I said, I would be very curious if it's at all possible to wire him to one of those machines to measure their heart rate. But I bet you his heart rate's like at 70 during these situations.
And J Mart's like 120. The way he's so erratic when he comes in these same situations, I wouldn't be surprised. But like Brett, like, is it possible for a closer to be a position player? Like, do you think that is something, or is this just like a funny joke to have, just because of what he's been doing lately?
Now that you say that, I promise you in 2-3 years, maybe even 5, when it's near the end of Otani's career, we can look back at this and clip it and be like, oh, look at that. He's now an all-star fucking closer. Cool. Thanks, Brandon. But no, I think it's definitely a good point. I think it was, you guys mentioned it was Chris Carajola that mentioned it on the broadcast first. Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned it on the radio.
Shout out Chris for the funny joke. It seems true, man. Like Gabe was saying, he just goes in there in the ninth inning, has the ability to just put these teams away. Like, I was genuinely shocked when I was, researching these numbers on him, because obviously they're talking about it on the broadcast about him having that, like, being his 8th home run in the ninth inning. I was like, God damn, like that's crazy. And then looking back on it, or looking into it, the fact that he's slugging over 1,000 is that's wild. Like I don't know how you can actually do that. I didn't think that was even a thing you could do. I know obviously it's only 39 at bats, so it's basically the same sample size as like 2.5 weeks of baseball. But still, if somebody started the season out like halfway through the first month of the season with a 410 slash 442 10 like a 1 dot slugging with 8 home runs, I would instantly be like, oh my god, yeah, you are the instant front runner for MVP to start the season. And like Abe said, the fact that he's doing that in the 9th inning alone, and then what he's doing the entire season in all the other innings, especially the first, and what he's doing in the field, it's kind of crazy that he's not considered more favored than Ellie De La Cruz and Francisco Lindor. But I do think that whether it's even as a joke or
with Vegas, like he is,
because Vegas is the people that the money and the betting actually matters, not the people that want the trust me, we've been in the past where like I want the gambling odds to favor my players, but there's some times where there's not going to. But I whether it's a kind of funny joke or not, I think there is a little bit of validity to it. Like he's going in there, whether it's to walk a team off, or even I know some of like that 9th inning stat was like 1 home run and 2 of those RBIs were against Finnegan last week. That it didn't give them the lead. It wasn't a walk off, but it was a big hit. It was a big reason why the D-backs were able to come back and win. Like he's probably provided more wins and saved this team more games with his bat, especially in the 9th inning, than I would imagine like the blown saves that we've gotten from our closers this year. Maybe not more because we've had a decent amount of blown saves, but I think it'd be kind of surprised if you go and look at it. Obviously, I don't know what exact stat that would be, like, win probability added. I'd have to go through and check to see exactly what it would be for each one of his like home runs in the 9th inning. I don't have the time to do that right now, but I do think there is at least a good, reasoning behind that. That's somewhat of a true statement, whether it's factually true of him, like, oh, he's not a closer, or just looking at like you said, there's a few guys in baseball right now where you probably don't want to see, whether it's at all, but especially in the 9th inning in a close situation. He's got to be up on that list, if not the number 1 guy on the list.
Yeah, like it's like Ethan brings it up, and he like it's kind of a joke, but it's serious. Like if the game's close and Marte is slated to come in the 9th, my confidence about something good's going to happen lately is going to be really high now. Like what he's doing in the 9th inning lately is just like amazing, like simply amazing. And I think he's going to continue to do this the rest of the season. His confidence right now, this is probably the best he's ever played in his entire career.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's so great to watch. Moving on to game 3, which was the second game today. I did get a little ahead of myself. Adrian Del Castillo did get an RBI double in his first at bat, so congratulations. Eduardo Rodriguez, by the way, is an actual person. We do have confirmation of this, so I was very surprised. He makes his long-awaited debut. 5 2/3, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 1 K. He did allow 2 home runs. It was a decent opening start. Like, to be honest, it was more than I was expecting, because he had, like, in the couple of spring training starts he didn't look very great. And then he got hurt, and then, we got what we have now. My only critique is he had too many hard hit balls, for sure. There was a lot of hard hit contact with him, so that's the one thing that has me worried. First start, though, I felt was good. If we could get that every 5th day, I will take that right now. Keep us in the game and eat up innings. If we can make sure we have 3 of the 5 that we can have go 5 or 6, that's going to save our bullpen so much. Just keep us in games. Gabe, how would you rate Eduardo Rodriguez's debut?
I'll say a solid B+, just because he was 1 out away from making a quality start, which would be 6 innings and 3 runs. But Torrey took him out just before. But he was super efficient. He had 65 pitches. He went almost went 6 innings on 65 pitches, which is ridiculous. Like it helped save the bullpen. We're playing against the Phillies tomorrow. Like he didn't get the strikeouts or anything like that, but he didn't need it. He relied on the defense. This is something that we said when we got him, which is he's a ground ball and soft contact type of guy. Like he's gonna be out there. He's not gonna get a ton. He will get swing and miss, but he won't get a ton of strikeouts. He's just gonna get soft grounders and little pop flies and everything to get himself out of jams, and that helps with the pitch count. Like he's not like a Blake Snell type or Spencer Strider where they can only go 5 innings because they throw so many pitches. And when we're talking about long series, like let's say the Phillies or this series, like you need a guy who can go 6 innings or 7 innings, like, and he's able to do that. Hopefully, he's able to do that and continue this stretch that that we've been on, and he can continue to have these sort of numbers. I don't expect him to be this good every single time, just because late in the season he still has to get his rhythm. But hopefully, he's able to help us to win a lot more. And yeah, I mean, B plus. I think if he would have been out there at least to get the 6 innings, I probably would give him an A minus.
I feel like he was on a pitch count of 70 to 75. I feel like that's why Torrey took him out, because it was going to be a very high pressure situation, and he had done probably more than they had expected. Like 65 through almost 6 innings is absolutely insane. Like that's super efficient. And like you said, he's a soft contact guy. That's what he lives on. Soft contact, whether that's soft fly balls, pop-ups, grounders. Like that's why he's been so good. But I think the main reason they signed him is for postseason. He has a lot of postseason experience from being with the Boston Red Sox. And starting pitcher is a main reason why we lost the World Series last year. We only really had 2.5. Like, it was definitely a struggle. So I think this was a very good first outing for him. Definitely going to look for him to kind of put this together. Like he's going to have a good 2 months to kind of get ready for the potential postseason, which we are going to need him. So Brett, how would you rate Erod's debut?
I think honestly, I'm kind of on the same boat as Gabe, whether it's a B or B plus. I know, like, especially looking at some of the numbers and all the hard hit, like it looked like he was giving up some hard hits here and there, but I think it's just we're going to be, as a fan base, we're just cautioned to a lefty that we paid money every time they go pitch. We're hoping that they don't get shelled. Thank you, Madison Bumgarner, and so far Jordan Montgomery. But I think it really was good. I mean, facing a team that he's seen a lot, or that seen him a lot in his career. I know he's had good numbers, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to dominate a team. Especially again, if you've seen a guy, sometimes you can just pick up a little key. Or like, oh hey, normally he's got this release point with this curveball, and it's like up here. Today it's like more like here, or it's like he's releasing it back here instead of more up here. Like it's little things you could probably notice when you see him more. And even like you said, first start of the season, the fact that he kept it very limited on the pitch count, 65 through 5 2/3. I think if this is, a couple starts down the road, we probably see him go another at least 15 to possibly 20 pitches, and maybe even another inning. Obviously, depending on the situation, if he's getting shelled, then you're not going to just go, oh, get me to 100 pitches. But I think it was a very encouraging start. The Guardians, they're not the most slugging team. They're not like, I don't think they're like the Dbacks when it comes to like offensive numbers overall. But hey, going into the series, they were still or at the time, the number one team in baseball, and were until we swept them, and the Yankees took that spot from them today. So it's still a good team with a solid lineup. There's a reason why they were, they had the record they did, and I think it's a very good sign from what we've seen, especially like, there was a lot of softer contact. There was a good amount of I like the location, Brandon. I think you have the graphic for it. I think the thing that impressed me the most was just how, I think one of the things you hear with pitchers is, being efficient with your misses, being effective with your misses. Like you don't have to miss, like we've seen sometimes with Brandon Pfaadt and Zach Gallen, where they're kind of overthrowing their fastballs or their curveballs. This, as you can see, yes, there's definitely going to be some lower in the zone, some that miss like, maybe even close to a foot outside the zone. but it's pretty relatively around. Like he's tunneling, he's working his pitches well off of each other. He's trying to be effective with what he has. He's not gonna, like, just like Gabe said, he's not gonna be out there making a bunch of guys swing and miss. But his changeups, he was keeping them in great locations. He only had a few in the zone. I think one of them Jose Ramirez hit out, but Jose Ramirez is a Hall of Famer, so you can't be upset at all about, or sorry, soon to be Hall of Famer.
No, he's a Hall of Famer. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I guess technically he's not one right now, but eventually
outside
Hall
of
of Famer.
Marte, he's probably one of the most underrated players in baseball. Like, what he does,
50 WAR this year.
Yeah, year in and year out. Like, it's without a doubt he's a Hall of Famer in my mind.
But that's why I'm like, I think it was a really encouraging start from Erod. I think B to B plus is really solid. Even like C, like I can see why some people might think like a C plus. Like, it's, again, there are definitely some things to like and some things not to like. But with what we've gotten from our pitching, especially Montgomery, this being Rodriguez's first game back, I think there's way more positives to take away from it than anything to be kind of like, ooh, contract though,
Yeah, but no, like, it was a great first step, and hopefully he can continue on from there. Because if we, like, I don't think Merrill's that far behind either, which is great to hear. Zach, I don't know what we're going to get Zach from starting every start. We know what we're going to get from Brandon Pfaadt. He's going to give you length. And if offense can show up for him, he's going to get those wins. Like, that's the only reason he's 6-6 right now. He has so many great quality starts, but offense just doesn't do it for him, or bullpen blows it. Mike Hazen, just he makes some great moves at the trade deadline. Like, AJ Puck has been really great. And one move that I think went under the radar because it literally cost nothing. It's either cash or a player to be named later. Josh Bell. Like, what Josh Bell has done since he became a Diamondback, I think they just got him at the right time. He was hitting really well with the Marlins, and for some reason they designated him for assignment, probably because they couldn't get anyone trading anything legit for him. So they just kind of gave up on it. Josh Bell has his second multi-homer game in about 4 days. He hits one from each side of the plate. Actually, hold up. I think they're both on the same side. Yep, sorry, they're both as a lefty, but still going one to left and one to right. Really impressive. He's had 6 games as a Arizona Diamondback. He's looked really good. 6 games, 26 at bats, 7 hits. Four of those are homers, by the way. So he's only batting .269, but his OPS is 1.129 because his slugging is 808. Like, that's really impressive. Josh Bell has been really good. We got really lucky that Walker's injury was the night before the trade deadline, so they can make a move. I just don't think that. I think they still wanted that slug at first base. Pavin's not going to do. I think Pavin's a better defensive first baseman than Josh Bell, but I think they were like, he's going to have to probably slate into our 4, 5, 6 spot, and we need that slug in that spot. Again, he's only played 6 games. I know it's early. If he continues to do this and Walker comes back, obviously we know Walker's playing first base almost every single day because he's Christian Walker. He's going to win the 3rd straight NL Gold Glove at first base. Do we play him versus left? Like, does he replace Gritchett as the DH versus left-handed pitching? Or do they do a combo where they play Bell and Gritchett against lefties and sit Carroll and Thomas? Like, Gabe, what if he continue? Again, I know it's early. They've still got probably several weeks for this, so he could cool off. So this question may not mean anything. But if he continues, if he keeps doing what he's doing, hitting these homers, slugging, what would you like to see the team do when Walker comes back with Josh Bell?
I guess it would just depend on what he's doing. Like, we still have a few weeks before we get any real news on Walker's progression because It can take about a month for his injury, sometimes even longer, just because the quads can be so sensitive. Like we don't know exactly when he's going to return, if it's going to be 4 weeks or 6 weeks too. So it just depends on what Josh is doing throughout that time. If he's still continuing to slug, because I know you said he's hitting 269, but I believe that was exactly Walker's average as well before he got injured. So they're about the same in terms of the average, but it's just the slugging is ridiculous. He's taking his walks as well. Like he came at the exact right time, I think. Uh, and I know the Marlins and even Cleveland are saying right now, like, oh, why didn't he do this for us? You can't discount the fact that when you're on a team that's a dead, like a black hole, the way Miami was, when guys are playing there, they're just going through the motions. They don't care. They're kind of just getting paid. And I know it's not a great attitude to have, but you're talking about a long season with a team that's not very good and an organization that's not run really well. So, kind of, why would you try your best with them? We're seeing it right now with the White Sox, the guys that they traded to Baltimore and stuff like that, or even I think Boston. They're going off right now, but it's because why would they want to try it all on a team that had lost 20 in a row? Like, why would you want to try there? Like, there's no reason why. So coming here, we're making a push, to stay in the playoffs and even get into the World Series again. Like I'm sure he's rejuvenated. He wants to be here. He seems to fit in really well here. So I I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know. Like I said, there's a month. A month from now, we still have
Yeah.
a month to decide what we're gonna do. Whether Kevin Newman has a crazy drop off or something. Like we don't know what's gonna happen from now. So as of right now, keep him and Newman sort of platooning at first there. I mean, Josh can play every day. He's a switch hitter, and he made a couple good plays today as well. So, being able to work with Dave McKay or Tony Perez Chico, like we have really good coaches right there at first base. Like Walker didn't become an elite first baseman until he came here. He wasn't an elite first baseman for any of the other teams that he played for. And with Goldie, he put in the work and he was under this coaching staff that turned him into a Gold Glove first baseman. So I don't think Josh can become. He's not going to become a Gold Glove first baseman, but he can at least become a slightly above average first baseman. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope we can keep both of them, just because when it comes to the playoffs, it would be nice to have two hard hitting first basemen.
Yeah, and I think the ability late in games in the postseason for him to pinch hit and potentially get like a big double or a home run, I think could be huge. So, but again, this all depends on how he plays. Like the next couple of weeks, like it could be he starts hot and then cools off, and then when Walker's back, it's an easy decision. So, and it's like they didn't give up like anything for him. So if he isn't playing well, they just cut him, like it's not like they're losing that much. So, Brett, what would you do with this situation with Bell if he is playing at this level when Walker comes back?
Oh man, it's tough. I was kind of discussing this with some of my coworkers today because, it is like Abe said and pointed out, it is nice. We still have, it's not like Walker's going to be back after just literally 6 days, maybe even like the full 10 or the IL. We might have a little bit longer than that. So it's not like the decision needs to be made in the next week or so, but it is going to be a tough call no matter what it is made, because Bell's providing something that we need. Like when, I know obviously Walker's gone, but I think like Gabe said, it'd be really clutch to have him with, if we do have a tough righty or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that Walker can't handle righties. He can handle righties. But it is nice to have that extra, first baseman that can still provide a little bit of slug, even though he is, I think, better than lefties and righties. Still, he's been killing righties right now. I think the tough call is going to be, does Alec fully, because I believe he still has some options technically. And obviously, like Gabe said, it's what we talked about earlier. He's really good for the defense. If you take him out or if you send him down or whatever, you're going to be missing a big piece of your defense and the no-fly zone. And we see it in a lot of these games. We saw it in that game 1 where McCarthy and Gurriel, like Gabe was talking about with their miscommunication. There's going to be some things with him, and obviously, even I mentioned earlier, he's getting really unlucky. So we could see him turn a corner in these next few days, and that could make this decision even more difficult. Because genuinely, like, who do you like? It's not like it was before, where if Gino's not doing good, maybe you can try to slot Newman over at third. Bell can take his spot. No, like, it's going to be a really tough decision, and unless you want to, I don't think you can sacrifice an extra bullpen arm, because that wouldn't be a smart decision. I think it would be either Cattell or you just bite the bullet and let go of Bell, which I don't think they want to do.
No.
But again, especially with what he's doing now, but who knows? He could have 4 games in a row. I'm knocking on any piece of wood I can, where he goes 0 for 4 with a couple Ks and just doesn't produce what he's been doing, and he kind of does what he did with the Marlins. That could still, 100% happen. God forbid it doesn't. But there is still, plenty of time to, I guess, think about what this decision could be. And it's going to be I think it's going to be kind of like how spring training is. People are going to be auditioning and fighting for a roster spot in 2 weeks with very limited playing time. It's not like they're all starters out there. Alec gets limited playing time. Grichuk does. Bell is getting more than, both of them, but when Walker's back, it's, what call do you make? It's going to be a tough one. I genuinely don't know what the answer could be right now. I think if it was made right now, Alec, because of the options, but I still think that, it would be a coin toss. You pull a name out of a hat.
I think this decision is going to be different every series, because that baseball is just about a series of runs, pun intended. Like, you'll see these guys that go on these crazy runs, like Cattell is right now, and some guys go the other way. This decision, it's a good decision to have to make. The fact that you have to make a decision like this knows that you're in a good spot. It means you're being competitive. Like, you have more than enough guys to put on the field. It's something you want to be able to do. Some teams, like the Chicago White Sox, do not have that luxury. Like, it is so bad. They did snap that losing streak, by the way. It was against Oakland, so not a big deal. Brett, I just want to talk to you real quick about this shirt that you have.
Oh, yes, sir. So we mentioned it before. I don't know. Again, I'm very superstitious. I'm not a little stitious, but I'm superstitious. This Year of the Dragon shirt, ever since I've purchased it from the Dbacks team shop, I believe back in May or something like that, maybe even early June. Every time I have it washed and then I wear it, that day, whatever day the D-backs are playing it, whether I'm wearing it to the stadium, they're playing here at Chase Field, or a game like today where they're playing, in Cleveland. The record on the days I'm now wearing this shirt is 13-1, and I believe it is 11 in a row or all 13 in a row. It might have been, I think I got the shirt, washed it, and the first day I wore it to the stadium was a blow. I think they lost to the Tigers, so I was like, oh, great, cool, great shirt. So I think it's 13 wins in a row. Don't fully hold me accountable, but, if I like to put my tinfoil hat on, I will always find anything that makes my brain think I'm helping my team win when, trust me, I know, we all know, what shirt we wear does not matter. But when I'm seeing a trend like this, you can't convince me to not continue it. And Brandon said it in the group chat. When it comes to the playoffs, I'm watching this every day. I don't care. I'm every day.
Well, so the nice thing about the playoffs is you'll have 2 straight days. You'll have an off day, so then you can watch.
Well, no, but I gotta. It's one game, 1 day's worth per wash. So I can't wear it on day one and then put it on the next day. I gotta wash it every time. That's the key. That's the key to my stupid brain.
You can't do it during the season for every game because that's way too much of a water bill.
And then this also is a great point, but that's where I'm it's this shirt though. this is the lucky shirt. It's not the lucky shirt run. It's the lucky shirt, you know?
Yeah. And I told Brett that he may need to wear it and wash it for the Philly series that we're about to go into, because this is a huge series. I think he should do it for the Dodgers over Labor Day, and I think he should do it for the Padres series to end the season. I think those three right there should be the ones where he wears it, wash it, wear it, wash it. Because when it comes to sports, I'm superstitious. If something happens and I'm wearing something or I do something and it works, I'm gonna try it again. If it works again, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm sorry. Like, there's just unknown things that just get me really excited about it. So yeah, swept Cleveland, which was huge, by the way. Like, we had a very, I wouldn't say super difficult stretch, but it was a stretch against teams that we needed to beat to really put our best foot forward and be dominant. And that was playing Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and now we're coming home, playing a huge 4-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies, who most of the year everyone's like, oh, Phillies are winning the World Series, best team in baseball. They have cooled off a bit. Like, they aren't as dominant as they were. And we kind of own them at Chase Field over the last year. So, and I think it's the most hilarious troll move of all time. The fact that the giveaway on Saturday is a NL Championship replica ring.
I'm so happy they've turned the season around, because at the beginning, when we were 7 games under 500 and the Phillies were as good as they were, I was sitting here, I'm like, do you understand the trolling that we're going to have to go through when they come into town if this is how it's going to be? But team clutched up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's about, they have a similar record to the Dodgers, so it's only like a 4-game difference, so it's not like they're that much better record-wise. Like, it's definitely a lot closer. So yeah, this is a very big series, because after this we get a decent break, I guess you could say, because then we got 3 against the Rockies at Chase Field. We then go to Tampa for 3, Miami for 3, Boston for 3. So that's a pretty long road trip, but I think we have a really good chance there between Rockies, Rays, Marlins, and Red Sox. They're kind of going into the end of the month to kind of be where we're at right now. Like, as of this moment, we are 3.5 back of the Dodgers for the NL division lead. And we are tied with the Padres for that top wildcard spot. We are listed first because we currently lead the season series. That's the only reason that we are listed first. Both of us are 2 games up on the Braves, and the Braves only have a half-game lead on the Mets. So, and then Cardinals are 2 games back of them, and then Giants only 3.5 back. Giants are at 500 right now, so watch out. I know the Giants sort of kind of sold at the trade deadline, but I would definitely not count them out yet, because we were in a very similar spot last August. Like, last August for us was bad. So bad. Yeah, knock on wood if you have any, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I'm superstitious when it comes to anything. So, but no, this series against the Phillies is huge, because what if we end up with a similar record? Like, tiebreakers for home field advantage might come into play. You never know. So you want to win as many season series as you can with, I think, non-divisional opponents. So pitching matchups are Jordan Montgomery versus Colby Allard tomorrow. So it's a lefty-lefty. Friday, Wheeler versus Ryan Nelson. Normally you would think, oh, Zach Wheeler has this. It's not October. Zach Wheeler is not at his peak form, and Ryan Nelson has been pitching very well the last 6 weeks. So this could definitely go either way. Saturday, we got Aaron Nola versus Zach Gallen. So again, really solid matchup. And Sunday is Carl. Was it Christopher or just Christopher Sanchez? I always forget.
Just Christopher, I think.
Chris Offifer, whatever. He's been very good for the Phillies as well. And we have TBD, which rumor has it, according to the basketball and football guy, Mayo could be back Sunday, which makes sense because he did recently have a rehab start at Hillsborough. He was decent. It wasn't like really good, Merrill, but it wasn't awful. Like it's what you want to see out of a rehab start. Like you didn't get blown up. And I'm going to say what I've been saying: just win the series. That's all I care about. Just win the series. And we've seen how this team like has gone from almost like people want to give up on them to we have a shot at the division right now. We haven't lost a series in our last 10? No, 11 now because we're 10-0-1 in our last 11 series. Like that's simply amazing.
And the Phillies are 3 outs away in the bottom half of the ninth from making us only 3 games back from the Dodgers. So.
Which I'm gonna have to look as like when was the last time in August or September we were this close to the Dodgers? Because most of the time
it's already a 10-game lead by now.
Yeah, so like the division is out of reach.
I think 21 with the Giants when they had their
but I mean for us
at least for the Dbacks 2018, I think.
Oh my god, that insane!
When they had that September.
Matt Kemp adopted Archie Bradley.
Yeah.
So just keep winning series, and the Dodgers just keep doing what you're doing, collapsing. Next thing you know, for that division title, and it could come down to that final weekend against the Padres. It really could. Like if that happens, I might go to all 3 games. Like I'm like that will be a playoff atmosphere for sure. But we do have that big four-game series against the Dodgers over Labor Day, so that's going to be a huge series. If we can be where we're at right now within 3 games, that series is going to be massive. So, Gabe, just what do you want to see out of this Phillies series?
I want to see a sweep. I don't think it's going to be a sweep, but at most, I think tie it. At least tie it. The Phillies are sliding really hard right now. I know they're beating up on the Dodgers, but the Dodgers also they just literally lost their closer again. He played, he threw 8 pitches and they lost him already again. So it's not like the Dodgers are going that well. The Phillies haven't been playing that well. I think they got swept by the A's too. So it's I think we're getting hot at the right time. They're cooling off at the right time. I think maybe a lot of their guys are getting to that point. They've been making the playoffs the last few years. I think they've gotten to the point where the regular season is boring for them right now, and finding that extra gear is a little bit difficult for them. So, it would explain why they're underperforming, but also their pitching. I think a lot of their guys are starting to regress to the mean, like Christopher Sanchez, like even Wheeler, like that -2 ERA that he had wasn't going to last, the whole season because that's never been who he has been. Same with Nola, like he had, an under 3, now he's at 3.5. So I think we caught him at the right time, hopefully, that we can take the series. Like I said, I would hope for a sweep, just, put them to rest a little bit, maybe help the Braves catch up to them. So then, they can duke it out for their division. So then, we can weaken them up a little bit. But yeah, and I think just with the whole ring ceremony, like I want them to win at Saturday for sure. That way, you can still have the bragging rights because they lose, and it's like they say Moneyball, like nobody cares that you lose the last game of the season. So this is one of those things where I want them to win. I had no problems with the Phillies before. I hate the Phillies and I hate their fans now, so I want to see a sweep. But yeah, it's just that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. If we get a sweep, y'all, you watch out for those tweets because Gabe is gonna be so with the memes. I kind of want it now because that's gonna be some.
Putting that's gonna have even Diamondbacks fans being like, "Ew, this is why I don't like this account. This is why I don't follow this account. I don't like who runs it."
Whatever.
It's like once a week now at this point. It's pretty funny.
Don't care. Don't care. Brett, what do you want to see out of this series?
I mean, I feel like at this point it's just same with Gabe. Just win, keep the streak going. Don't lose the series at least. If you got a tie. Win Saturday. It's always rough because I feel like giveaways on Saturdays, we just don't ever have great luck. Bobbleheads, T-shirts, all that. So I kind of want to see them just get again at least split, at least win one on Saturday. But the one, maybe not one nice thing, but I think we're getting some of the let's say so Sanchez, Nola, and Wheeler. So we are getting the three best pitchers, but they did get knocked around a little bit. As Gabe was saying, they've kind of like come back down to earth a little bit. I think this will be a good series. Give me a good series, kind of like this one against the Guardians. Like it felt like comfortable. Yes, it was like a sweaty one, but I don't want to blow out where I'm just turning off the game in like the second or third inning because it's already 11-0 Phillies because Schwarber has gone 4 for 5 with 3 home runs already. So I would really like to see just split competitive series, competitive games, and obviously a win or a sweep of the series would be just a cherry on top for me.
Yeah, like man, that sweep would be nice. Gabe, any parting thoughts for the pod today?
Yeah, I kind of just want to give a quick shout out to the Guardians fans, just because I feel bad for them. I feel like we've all been in these situations where it seems like our front office and our owners kind of give up on a team, and I feel like that's kind of what happened at the trade deadline. They desperately needed starting pitching. They got nothing at the deadline. They got no starting pitching. They've been relying on 35-year-old guys who are coming off of Tommy John to keep him going. And this series showed what happens when you do stuff like that. Most of their pitchers didn't get past the fifth. And this whole season, they've just been relying on that strong bullpen to get them through these games. And if you look at their bullpen ERAs, like they are one of the best bullpens in the league. And this team was able to take advantage of the fact that these guys are overworked at this point. And I know a lot of fans are blaming Stephen Bowe for taking in guys in and out, but it's like Cookie Carrasco had 85 pitches at the beginning of the fourth inning or whatever it was. So it's just it's awful. I hate when this happens. Like the Cleveland should have bought. They have a lot of prospects. They have the money to spend. They just didn't. And it's an unfortunate aspect of the game that we've seen time and time and again, where seemingly the front office or the ownership gives up on teams. Like they should have made moves, they didn't, and we saw it last year. Even with the Orioles, they won 100 games, but they didn't do anything at the trade deadline, and it cost them in the playoffs. They got swept. So, and right now, Minnesota isn't too far behind Cleveland, so there could be another division race right there just because they stood pat. So, I just want to say I'm thankful, I guess, for the moves that this front office made. It wasn't, the biggest and flashiest, but at least we made some moves to shore up some of the issues that we had.
Yeah, like where we were at the beginning of June, like I was like, oh boy. No. I think it was more the end of June, like when we were like at our low point. I was like, are we gonna have the World Series runner-up hangover? Like that's what it really started to look like. But I'm like, not ready to throw it in yet because of all the injuries that we had. Like I wanted to see this team at mostly full strength to see the roster that Mike Hazen truly put together. Like, could it mesh? We're seeing it right now. We are seeing what this offense looks like when most of the main pieces are there. So, like, the ceiling on this team is so high when they're fully healthy.
One of the crazy things too is this bullpen, and it could be even nastier if we had Dre Jameson healthy too, like another injury. Like I still think about that. It breaks my heart that this season we're gonna miss out on Dre Day, because just imagine even today it's been like, oh cool, instead of like Castellanos or you love Saccone, but even instead of Saccone, possibility of Dre Jameson coming out of there. Oh my god.
I could see next season 8th inning is Dre, 9th inning is Jamar. Can you imagine that 8th and 9th?
I think Torrey would still slow roll him, kind of like what he's done to Jamar. There's no chance he's getting into the 8th inning.
Oh no.
That'd still be Ginkle and tea time. We'd see Dre would be that lockdown 6th inning guy. It's like, hey, you know what? Like someone had to go a short inning. We just need you to get us 3 outs, get us back in the dugout as fast as possible. Like I feel like that's it. The year after though, yes. And then throw in Landon Sims in there. Yummy.
Landon Sims has me freaking he's looking really good. Shout out to Ethan, by the way, saying we're the best Dbacks podcast. Appreciate that very much, Ethan. We try our best. This is a full 4 team. Like all 4 of us. Like some of us have strengths and weaknesses. I truly feel like we all contribute in different ways, and so it helps out so great. And yeah, I will do this every single day. Like this is just so much fun.
We're not getting paid. We don't have a company backing us too. We're just all doing this in our own time, free time.
Yet
also again, we can't say it enough every episode. Major shout outs to Josh too. There's a big reason.
Josh makes us look way better than we are. I'm not gonna lie. Josh is the man. That man just very underappreciated. And I try to make sure to say thank you so much because I can partially do some of the things he can. I can't do it to the level. Like I can do basic stuff, but when we need more complex stuff, that's our man, Josh Hunt. Josh, you the man. I want to, Brett, you got any parting thoughts?
No, again, just appreciate everybody coming out, commenting. Make sure you guys obviously like and everything. And then just, if you guys are in town, if you guys can make it out to any of the games, at least one, especially the Saturday, get there early. I think it's a 5:10 game.
Yep.
So make sure, I think we're going to try to get there around like 2 to get in line. So get there early. Just come out to the ballpark, bring some good energy, bring fun, cheer for the D-backs. Let's go see a win. Let's go see some wins.
Yeah. So as Brett said, on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Twitter at Dbacks Dispatch. If you like our memes and engagements, likes and retweets don't cost anything. So takes all of about 2 seconds to hit that button. And just make sure if you're a audio listener, check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a review on what you think, like what you want to see maybe us do more. We are always looking to improve.
We should have a prospect catch-up episode coming out next week too. That'll be running with some of the guys from AZ Snake Pit. So we'll get especially because the minor league season should be winding down, I believe. Yeah. So we'll get some more, even some prospect catch-up for you guys as well.
And I also want to say thank you to AZ Snake Pit. This has been a great partnership so far, and we appreciate it very much. We'll see you all on Sunday.